I used to work as an international business lawyer on the Champs-Élysées in Paris, and I've grown up spending my summers in my grandparents' chateau in the south of France. In this video, you're going to learn the 7 dressing mistakes that female entrepreneurs make all the time that undermine their authority and makes them get paid less. I'm also going to show you how to correct those mistakes so that you're taken more seriously. The first mistake, and that's something that I've seen the most in the US, is dressing too sexy. There seems to be, in the American culture, the belief that if you look sexy and attractive, then you look powerful. So these female entrepreneurs tend to show shape, they tend to show their cleavage, their beautiful legs, wear very high heels to convey confidence and power. And that's a mistake. It makes you look less intelligent than you actually are. Not because people are evil, but because the brain is wired this way. It has been shown that emphasizing your body makes other people process you as a body instead of a mind. Their attention goes to your figure instead of all the other qualities that you have as a professional. I remember being at a trade show in Las Vegas for one of the companies that I used to work for. The booth across had a woman whom I could not tell if she was head of sales or a hostess. And the reason was that she was dressed with a very short black dress, very high heels, platforms. She had a very elaborate hairdo, very elaborate makeup, fake lashes, gel nails, and an obvious designer bag. The reason I wasn't able to tell was because she seemed like she was giving orders, or she seemed like an important part of that booth, but she was dressed in a way that undermined her authority. And that's just not me. What I experienced has been studied scientifically. They showed people the same woman either as a receptionist, either as a manager. For the receptionist, the sexy outfit had no consequence. But for the manager, the sexy dress dropped the competence and even got some negative comments, which shows that the higher the role, the bigger the penalty of looking sexy. So why is it the case that dressing sexy undermines your authority? The first reason is that dressing sexy makes you look sexually available. People notice your body first, and that makes them think intimacy instead of competence. The second reason is that dressing sexy indicates that you don't know how to dress for the room, and therefore that you don't have a required amount of emotional intelligence, because somebody who knows how to dress for the room wouldn't put forward her beautiful legs, she would put forward her competence in getting this deal done or in signing the client. Is patriarchy the problem then? Is it simply that women have less freedom than men just because they are women? Yes and no. Because, of course, women should be allowed to wear anything they want without having to fear for their safety. That's a given. But women should also be aware of how their clothes are perceived, because that gives them power. We don't have the power to change how other people's brains perceive us, but we have the power to decide what we put in front of that brain so that the conclusion the brain comes to plays in our favor. It is true that men have a way easier time dressing for professional settings. For women, it's way more complex. We have to be not too sexy, not too serious, not too fashion aware, and find the exact point where we convey authority, but also leadership, awareness, and originality. But even though it is more complex for women to be taken seriously through the way they dress, dressing sexy undermines both genders. When in 2013, the CEO of Yahoo posed reclining on the cover of Vogue, people said that it was taking away from her vision and her leadership. And it definitely was, because here on this picture, she was limiting herself to being a sexual object. She was putting forward her beauty instead of putting forward her intelligence and her ability to run a huge company. And if you had put a man in a sexy position like this on a cover, people would have also wondered what was wrong with him, because that's not what you put forward when you are the leader of a business, man or woman. Instead of dressing sexy, if you want to be taken seriously, dress professionally with a twist of feminine. Don't just copy the men with the power suits. Have some powerful elements with a tweak of feminine. The best way to express femininity in an outfit is to add some flow, either with a flowy dress, either with flowy hair, with a flowy blouse, something that adds some softness to your outfit while being framed by structure. And I'm going to give you the exact formula when I address mistake number 7. The second mistake that I see all the time is wearing trends, because women, especially as they start succeeding in their business, want to be more fashion forward and afford trends. But that's a mistake because that removes credibility. The reason why it removes credibility is because when you follow a trend, you are a follower. And when you lead a business, you have to be a leader. So somebody who thinks ahead of the curve, outside of the box. And you can't convey leadership if you convey that you're following. Following trends also conveys that you need your validation to come from the outside instead of already having it. Because if you're already confident, you have your style and you express that identity through the pieces that you choose. But if you're not confident and you feel like you need to look like you're enough and you feel like you need to be validated, then you're going to use what's outside, so the pieces that are trending right now, to make you look worthy and bring you that feeling of worthiness. And people judge competence, trustworthiness, and likability in 100 milliseconds. And the extra time after that they spend assessing you simply reinforces that first impression that they made within those first 100 milliseconds. So that's why first impressions are so important. So it's extremely important that you look like you're in charge instead of looking like you're catching up with whatever fashion is doing. Mistake number 3, super common, dressing down, so that you are likable and approachable and people don't think that you're a cold leader or somebody who is, too much up their own bomb. Either we look warm, but then we don't look competent and sharp. Either we look competent and sharp, but then we look like we're a cold ice queen. A lot of women are aware of that, either consciously or unconsciously. They have seen that if they dress down in an approachable way, then the staff is warmer to them. They get people to do what they need in a more easier way because people like them. You actually don't have to choose between looking warm and being perceived as competent. Your warmth comes from your voice, the way you speak, your face, the way you smile, and your competence comes from the way you dress. People read you as one. They sense your energy and they see how you present. And this is why copying a Pinterest look doesn't necessarily work on you, because you are not going to move, you are not going to speak, you are not going to present an energy that is the same as the next person. Therefore, the message that you convey with your clothes cannot be the same as somebody who has a completely different energy than you do. When I build wardrobes for my clients, I take into account the tone of their voice, the way they stand, if they're rather curvy or angular, the way they move, if they speak fast or slow, because in those 100 milliseconds where they're going to be assessed, people are going to assess them as a whole. They're going to perceive the person and the clothes at the same time. And those two need to hit that sweet spot of warmth and competence. You don't need to underdress to be liked. You just need to find the right style for you that compensates either the amount of softness that you naturally have, either the amount of strictness that you naturally have. Fourth very common mistake amongst female entrepreneurs is to not have any kind of signature in their appearance. You blend into the wallpaper, you look like just any other lawyer, accountant, agency owner. If there is nothing distinctive about you, there is nothing to file you under. There is no category that the person can put you in. That's why singers have those very big visual brands. And that's also why you will see people who are extremely talented, who sing beautifully, and who are not famous because they do not have that visual brand yet. It's as important as the singing itself. The signature doesn't be complex. You don't need to be Lady Gaga, but you need to have something that is consistent and that differentiates you. So ask yourself, What is that signature element I could bring to my look? Is it a specific silhouette? Is it a specific color? Is it a specific piece of jewelry? It can be anything. It just has to be aligned with the story that you want to put forward. Fifth mistake, if the fit is not impeccable, you are going to look cheap and out of place and not having a very strong attention to detail. In those 100 milliseconds, the person you're talking to is going to detect that there is something off with the fit. They might not be able to say exactly what is wrong, they're just going to feel that little off feeling. And that's even worse because they can't pinpoint what's the reason of that feeling. Fit is even more important than the quality of what you wear. You could wear, I don't encourage you to, but you could wear a polyester blazer that fits you like a glove and a woolen cashmere one that looks horrible. You would look more expensive in this one. Don't buy polyester though. People think that investing in a tailor is something reserved to the rich or when you're very successful, or it's a bit, it's not really something that you think of doing. It is the best investment that you can make. Save on the clothes and invest in the tailor. It's going to pay you back tenfold. For blazers and shirts and tops in general, the seam should be on the acromion, which is that little bone that you have right here that sticks out on your shoulders. Your sleeves should land exactly at your wrist bone, not past your wrist bone, not before your wrist bone. Your blazer should land exactly at your hip bone where it meets your thigh, and your pants should fall exactly mid-ankle. The choices you make every morning getting dressed impact how seriously you're taken and therefore how well your business does. Because when you're the face of your business, the only way to project that your business is doing good, that you're reliable, that you're the best service provider ever is through your appearance. Mistake number 6 is a bit more advanced, and that is dressing for the room instead of the camera, or dressing for the camera instead of the room, because your makeup and your outfit shouldn't be the same if you're meeting somebody in person or if you're recording content or showing up on Zoom. If you're meeting somebody on Zoom, you can have a bit more makeup that's not going to show and that's actually going to make you look better and healthier. And if you're recording content, then you can cake it on because the strong lights that you have in front of you are going to erase the imperfections of that makeup. And more makeup on camera is going to make you look better, whereas in real life, it would look like you don't know how to do your makeup. It's the same with dressing. If you meet somebody in person, everything that you wear is going to speak more loudly because you are physically with them. They'll pick up on the poor fit, on too much jewelry, on a cakey makeup, because they'll see you in real 3D and under natural daylight. And because they will see you entirely, every single piece that you wear is going to tell its own story. So the homogeneity of what you wear is extremely important when meeting somebody in person. On Zoom, on the other hand, you only have the upper part of your body that's showing, so the elements that tell the story are way fewer. Additionally, on Zoom, you want your face to pop, so you should create some kind of contrast. That's where knowing the colors that are right for you is very helpful. Stick to a minimal top and fewer accessories so that the attention is not pulled away from your face and what you say. And finally, if you are being interviewed on TV or for a podcast, then the rules change again. Because here you're on screen, but in full body. Here your whole outfit is going to be red together, but still flat on a screen. So it should have contrast, but it should also be minimal at the same time. It shouldn't say too many stories at the same time. You want to be read as one cohesive story. And finally, mistake number 7 that I've seen mostly in the US and in Dubai is overdoing the power armor. That's a mistake because women are only allowed a tiny teeny sweet spot of styles to be perceived as competent and warm at the same time. And with the power armor, we have straight lines everywhere, pointy shoes, snatched waist, something that reads as very dominant and very cold. So we're competent, but we're not likable. So the sweet spot formula that I teach all my clients, that I promised you in number 1, is to do 70% strict and 30% flow, soft. That's how you hit that sweet spot that is so hard to hit, to look authoritative, competent, but also warm and welcoming. And in that ratio of 70-30%, you should take into account the things that you cannot change, which is your body type and your hair. The more flowy, long, curly your hair, the more it's going to count as flow. And the shorter, straighter, more masculine your hair, the more it's going to count as strict. It's the same with your body. If you have a very curvy body, it's going to account for those 30%. And if you have a very straight, angular body, then it's going to count for the 70%. So when getting dressed tomorrow, check if you're hitting that 70-30% ratio. Most women that I've seen are more in the flow than in the strict. So you might need to tune up the straight lines, darker colors, richer materials in your outfit.